Hey y'all, it's West Virginia History with Mrs. B, and today we're in Wood County, sort of Parkersburg. We are on Blennerhassett Island, and we are going to take you on a wagon tour of the island with the horse and wagon that you can see right over there. It is going to be a great time, so stay tuned as we tour Blennerhassett Island by wagon. Hey y'all, my name is Adina Barnett Miller, but I'm known to my students as Mrs. B. I've been passionate about West Virginia history for as long as I can remember, but my mom would tell you it all started when I was 3 years old and she bought me a West Virginia Counties puzzle at Gino's Pizza. I've taught history in Ripley, West Virginia for over 20 years now, and I'm an adjunct professor who teaches college West Virginia history to high school students. Please join me for West Virginia History with Mrs. B, a field trip across the Mountain State to walk in the footsteps of those who came before us.
Some of them are Everybody having fun yet? We're having fun all day.
There's a little slip. It's dry, but there's no grass.
I don't know why they stuck that there, of all places.
Well, when they put that there, it was actually really dry, but they were told to put it there.
I just meant they should put this in the background.
You would think, right?
Yeah, well, you gotta do what you're doing sometimes. Everybody, my name is Sean. I'll be the wagon driver and tour guide. That is two jobs dressed up in one, and that is what I get paid to make those. I'm going to keep telling myself for that. Next one again. My horses here is Ginger to the left. Ginger is a Hoflinger. The Hoflinger breed comes from a town called Hofling, situated on a mountain in Austria. Nina here to the right, she is a horse of many colors. She is a little bit of a mixed breed. Everybody thinks she's white, but she is actually called a gray. Nina here is a paint. Can't tell, can you? It's actually a watercolor paint, which means gets rained on, gets wet, instant gray and white. Looking to the left, all those trees are black walnut, a walnut tree plantation planted there in 1935 by a man by the name of James K. Gordon. When we get back around to the picnic table I just started from, I'll be able to show and tell a little bit more about those trees. To the right of it is the mansion. That is the Blennerhassett mansion, but it is not the original. The original was built in between 1798 and 1800 for Harmon and Margaret Blennerhassett, who came to the United States from Ireland. Now they bought this side of the island, which at the time would have been about a third of the island, and then they started building their home. Unfortunately, at that same time period, they also got tied up with the Aaron Burr's conspiracy. Right around 1804, they felt that it was necessary to leave their home in Ireland for their safety. While they were gone and having all hopes to return home, they got word from a friend that in 1811, their house had caught fire and had burnt all the way to the ground. So that house back there is a replica built by the state of West Virginia for the park system starting in the late 1970s. Now, while the Blennerhassetts were here, for the most part, they were completely self-sustaining. Now, what I mean by that is they made most of their own stuff and they grew all their own food. They had a pretty good-sized vegetable garden really close to the kitchen's door that they, of course, dubbed the kitchen garden. They also had hothouses, kind of like a greenhouse, which allowed them to grow different exotic and native fruit trees like figs, citrus, lemon, and lime. They also raised many different types of crops like corn, wheat, hemp, and barley. And they also raised many different types of animals for the products they would produce, like eggs and milk, furs, feathers, and wool. Then also eventually their meat. Now the brown sign here to your right shows a lot of famous people that came by the island or across. Different names on the sign are George Washington, Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, Meriwether Lewis, John Chapman, who also is better known as Johnny Appleseed. Knew that, right?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
She did.
Oh crap.
She did.
I did. I totally knew it.
You know why they called him Appleseed? You do know he carried a bag full of many different seeds.
Yeah.
But the certain type of apple tree that he planted actually would take root and grow all over God's creation.
Yeah.
Hence the name apple tree. Because I mean, we can call him Pawpaw or peach tree or anybody else, but the apple is what actually grew everywhere that he went.
Well, and it's believed that our special hybrid species, like the Grimes Golden up in the northern panhandle, that was a hybrid that came from what he had planted.
It literally almost looks the same and almost tastes the same, but then it's hybridization.
Yeah.
So I believe you're probably right.
Yeah, it's very interesting to think that he came through here and so much of what the pioneers
There are
ate.
some of his trees here, and there are some of his trees over in Belpre and Civitan.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I know a truck's brake broke loose at parties up on the hill. Truck went down over the hill, went plumb through Civitan, and took out that tree. You know, he got more in trouble for the tree than he did the truck brakes going out.
Yep.
Now the house back there is the Putnam Hauser House, built in 1802. Originally come from Belpre, Ohio, across the river to our right. They brought it over here one big piece. They did not tear it down to get it over here. Putnams and the Blennerhassett houses were the best of friends, so to have their house here helps add to the historical value and keep the house from being torn down. This house is a log house, as you can see, and why is a house and not a cabin? It's because it has an upstairs. Cabin's the ground level. I tell all the kids that, and they take it home with them. That house is made out of virgin white oak logs built prior to the Civil War originally. It originally stood over in Bartlett, Ohio. It was torn down, brought here, and rebuilt like the biggest Lincoln log set you'd ever want to put together. Now they did build onto it on both sides to be able to have the extra room to house modern conveniences like electricity and indoor plumbing. Since they brought it here, it has been lived in by one or another of our state employees over the years. That way there is someone here on the island at all times in case of some type of emergency. Now you girls get the treat of getting to see baby Milo.
That's what they said on the boat.
Baby Milo is just a month old. His mom there, her name is Kitten. Kitten is what you call a spotted draft. Actually, Kitten is a painted percheron. Now Milo's dad, he is a full-blood Belgian. Milo's dad, his full name was Billy Ray Cyrus.
Nice.
Yep. So when my 17-year-old daughter heard that, she thought that was the most fun thing that she has ever heard. So she wanted to further along the Cyrus tradition, or the namesake. Unfortunately, Milo was born first. So we went with Milo. Now he should be having a half brother, sister, cousin, nephew, whatever you want to call it, coming from his sister. And if that happens and it is a filly, it will be named Molly. And then we got 3 more to go with, but she will figure it out from there.
That's so cute.
They said that we would be hopefully lucky to see it. Yay!
Well, a lot of times Mommy puts him in the shade out there in the trees over there. So when we do go by and he is out, I feel obligated to go ahead and point him out.
Yeah.
Like I said, he is just now pushing a month old, and his brother, sister, half-brother, sister, cousins will be coming shortly. All the 2 Appaloosans and the 2 other paints are pregnant, and our Appies are starting to walk in the rear end a little bit steepy-legged, so it's something going out. Very soon, and our one Appy looks like she's going to have triplets, so she's like, boom.
Wow.
Here I am.
Wow.
Either she's eating good, or that baby is going to come out looking like an elephant. Whatever.
So now you're over every day taking care of the horses.
Well, tomorrow I have the day off, so no one call me.
But
I work for my dad, so you know how that goes.
Yep.
When I'm getting praise, I get praised by my boss and my dad. So, right. But when I'm in trouble, I'm in deep crap.
double.
Yeah, double crap. But
No.
yeah, we're usually here every day. Now, the island is closed on Mondays. Now later on in the season, we'll be closed on Tuesdays and then on Wednesdays, so we'll only be open like Thursday through Sunday. But that hasn't happened as of yet. It happens every year, but later on in the season. But because we have babies and other things coming along, we will figure out how to be here, or one of us will be here daily to be able to make sure everything's still going.
Right. And you guys ferry them back off the island at the end of the season,
We
correct?
do. Not, the ferry's on the other side when we get back around our circle, so I'll be able to point it out. That's what a lot of children, when your school children come over, that's one of the first questions they want to ask is, there ain't no way in heck they're going to fit on the front end of that stern wheeler, so they want to know how we get that done. So that's a little bit of fun, because over the years, I just asked the children, how do y'all think we do it? And those kids come up with the coolest ideas ever, man. I mean, from swimming to zip lines to jumping the truck across on a ramp, helicopters, you name it, I've heard it all. But when I show them that little boat, they're like, no way, because it is actually a little boat. The boat that powers everything's littler than my wagon. So everybody's like, no, that can't do that. She's strong, very strong.
So you do it at the end of every season?
We do it at end of every season, which means, like, say this year our candlelight is on the 12th and 13th of October.
Right.
Which would be Friday, Saturday. After that, we're done. Close. Start quitting. Going to the house. So we will start then closing up shop, getting our wagons, our harnesses, horses, everything that's ours that goes along with the horses. We will take everything off. It takes about 4 days to get all the wagons, horses, and all of our equipment off, and then recheck the fence, drain the water troughs, put all that up, do everything that to winterize. And then we take all the horses back to Ritchie County, West Virginia. Part of them that we don't use through the wintertime for our wintertime activities will go to my grandmother's farm, which is literally 8 miles from my dad's farm.
Right.
It's all still family farm. The ones that we do use for wintertime activities on our carriage rides through Christmas time, Santa Claus, this, that, and the other, we take to my dad's farm. And I already got 2 at dad's farm that I use in Marietta for our carriages throughout the summer. So they'll get in turn used on 2 of my carriages through the wintertime. And then I just technically get to pick 2 that I want for someone else to run through the wintertime. Not Nina. But anyways.
Well, you can tell which horse is the boss.
Ginger on this team is the boss. But I put both of these in the field out there in front of us. Sugar is the matriarch, and she is the leader of the whole field. And she will tell you, hey, straighten up like right now. If not, she's going to kick your butt. Now the 2 signs are just passed. This one here marks the James Block House. It was to the absolute left where all the trees are now. Built in 1792, would have been 2 stories tall, had a really tall fence around the whole perimeter. It was built to be a fortress to protect women and children from all the fighting occurring at that time period. 6 years after it was built, Blennerhassett moved into the island. They moved into that house while they're having their mansion built. Once they're able to move into the mansion, they have the block house dismantled in order to use the material to build other things to their liking. Like my barn has some of the blocks in it. The second sign, you see the big circle on the ground. The circle does not do the size of the tree justice. See, there was a sycamore tree back there, and it was said to have an outside circumference of 37.5 foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
My wagon's 42 foot. That tree was said to have an inside hollow of dimension of 11 foot. It was said to be a little over 400 years old when it died, dying by a fire possibly caused by a lightning strike in 1953. Now this house here, really not much left to look at. But if you can see where the upstairs window sill is, keep that in mind. This house is the Neal House, built in 1833, all red brick and made right here on the island. The outside walls approximately 3 feet thick. The reason for that is insulation. Now what I mean by that is in the 1830s, no such thing as central air or heat, box fans, ceiling fans, or worst of all, they did not have heat fans or insulation. So what they did is they built that house like a very tall Grand Mall cellar house above ground. And in doing so, if they kept the windows and doors shut, just like the Grand Mall cellar house, it would stay very cool at about 58 degrees year round.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, in the summertime when all of us are playing in the garden and the yard and chasing the kids around, this, that, and the other, we'd be able to go inside, shut the door in behind us, an instant cool down. Now in the wintertime, not so much because it's already cold outside, so you sure the heck would not want to go inside a cold house unless you had lots of blankets. Anyways, they didn't throw a log on fire, raise the temperature. It would raise like right now. So to counter that, because you're inside going, holy crap, it's way too hot in here, you then would open the window or door. Now the house was lived in all the way up to the mid-1950s, and while being lived in, it did survive a couple major floods. The most major was in 1913 when the water started pouring in those upstairs windows. Pouring in, not just trickling, pouring.
Wow.
Now the people living here at the time, they did not, I'll say it again, not vacate.
Wow.
They did survive. What did not survive was everything they owned that was downstairs.
Right.
Out the windows and the doors. Then that house survived the next flood in the 30s. What it could not survive is the tornado that hit in the mid-1950s. The tornado came through in the mid-1950s, taking the roof, knocking down most of the walls. People living here said the heck was an island, and they went straight to the mainland and never turned their head back. Now here on the island, right around the beginning of 1900, the Gordon family decided it would be really fun to have a small amusement park built on the front of the island. In their park, they had a very large Ferris wheel. They gave hot air balloon rides. They had an outside boxing ring, a Major League Baseball diamond, a shooting gallery, a raised wooden dance platform, food vendors, games for children. They also, just for fun and because they could, they had an exotic petting zoo where they allowed y'all to go inside the pen and play with baby zebra, peacock, emus, and a few other weird animals. Unfortunately, they put all that up here on the front of an island. And soon enough, they found out islands flood. The flood of 1913, if it got into upstairs windows back there, everything down here would have been completely underwater. That's what happened. It wiped out the whole entire park. Not knowing when the next flood would occur, the Gordon family come back after the flood was receded, safely looked around, saw everything in ruin. Not knowing when the next flood would occur, they went ahead, cleaned up the mess, called it quits, end of the park.
Can't really blame them.
Right. I mean, you gotta think, you know, they didn't really have the weatherman sitting there going, it's gonna rain today.
Yeah.
You just kind of looked outside and went, I bet
Oh, the water's rising. Yeah.
And, so they didn't have the week-long, holy crap, it's gonna rain like forever in 3 days. So they didn't know unless they looked outside. So not to know that and really probably not have enough money to actually rebuild and then get screwed again, they just called it quits. Now the island today does stretch just shy of 4 miles long this direction, but it's only a third of a mile wide at its widest spot, which is about where we are now. It has 10 miles shoreline or perimeter, looks similar to the shape of an hourglass or a bowling pin if you look at it from an airplane's point of view, consists of just shy of 500 acres, and is said to be the 5th largest island up and down the Ohio River. Now prior to the Blennerhassett and the Gills and the Gordons coming here to the island, we do know it was lived on by at least 2 different Native American tribes. One of those tribes being the Delaware. The chief of the Delaware tribe, his name was Nemacolin. Now when Nemacolin came from Delaware to get you here, he'd have traveled across what is now known as the Appalachians Trail. And in doing so, he gets the credit for starting the blazing that trail, at least from Delaware to here. Now they arrived here on the island right around the beginning of 1750. Can y'all imagine what they might have saw when they set foot here on the island during that time period? Other than the trees, animals, and the grass. We all feel that they would have stepped foot, took a second to look around, and what they actually would have saw is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And what I mean by the nothing is he'd have never left the house looking for his car keys. He'd have never stepped on the porch to try to identify an airplane or a helicopter. He'd have never looked across the river and went, yep, it's about noon, there goes the railroad. He'd have never saw bass boats.
Yeah.
Or
a barge.
The barges, locks and dams.
Yeah. Bridges.
He'd have never stood across on the mainland and looked, or over here on the island, looked across to wave at a neighbor.
Yeah.
He'd have never got chased down by a little old gray-haired lady that's about 4 foot tall at Walmart looking for his receipt. He'd have never had a bunch of pissed off children on that wagon going through McDonald's parking lot because they are not getting ice cream again today.
Nope.
He'd have never saw a DNR officer.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, a whole bunch of nothing, but a whole bunch of nothing sounds pretty daggone good. As did Nemacolin, he looked around and he said, there is no reason to ever have to go any further south or west. They built their homes to the left of us in that general area, and he ended up living out the rest of his life right here on the island, dying in 1767. Possibly buried here on the island, but no one knows exactly where, because we're on an island that has and will continue to flood. So if they ever left a marker or any type of stone next to his grave, it very well has been knocked down and washed away. So at this present time, we just like to say, poor old Nemacolin is MIA. And we've heard 2 stories about where he very well could be. One of them is prior to the locks and dams being put in effect, which would raise the water and make it wider, and that was happening in the early 50s. The front of the island where we feel that he would have been buried is out about 80 foot in the water now. But then we've also talked to some modern Delaware Indians, which are still living just like their ancestors did in a roundabout way, and they say, like watching some of the movies, like Dancing with Wolves, they didn't bury their people, they put them on a pier. Mm-hmm. So the Delaware did that. They put them on a pier, put all their stuff, belongings up there, and allowed nature or the animals to take them back. So if that were to be the case, Nemacolin ain't in one place, but he is all over the place.
I like that better. I like that as a better
so he literally,
possibility.
If that be the case, he's literally watching over the whole island still.
I like that.
Now, have you ever met a Delaware Indian that is full blood and takes on the traditional ways? Have you ever watched the westerns where you see the mohawk? Face paint from right here all the way up, dark. I mean, bright red. I mean, evil looking. The biggest mohawk ever. Long feathers. Looks like they're meaner than a 3-headed rattlesnake. That's Delaware. Imagine seeing one of them on a blind alley.
Yeah.
Now we hear that Nemacolin, part of his tribe, he was very, very friendly to the fur trappers and traders that come along the river and wanted to fur trap and trade. But you can you imagine 50 of those guys that I just described standing here on the shoreline?
Looking at you as you go by on a boat.
Yeah, you would want to be their friend too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hello, you know. I'm going to be the best person I can be when I step foot on the island. And I'm going to beg, please don't scout me. Now, if that's any truth, if that's how they wore it then, I'm not for sure, but the guy that came over here to represent the Delaware, he was complete mohawk. Now, like I said, you know, all the children asking me more or less where and how we get the horses across. We do use a small, it's a tugboat with a barge attached to the side, which is up here to the right. Now, the tugboat's name is GG. Her barge has a ramp on both ends, which allows us to drive our trucks and trailers onto her. Now, we do move our trucks, our wagons, and any equipment you see here on the island does somehow get a ride on GG.
Right.
When we do need to transport the horses on or off, they get a ride on GG too, but the horses are inside a trailer. Now my horses, all of them are about 11 to 1,200 pound, very large dogs in the way. And what I mean by that is when I go in the field with the truck and trailer to open the door, I get at least 4 volunteers each and every time. They're ready to go because they know they're going somewhere different. Now, if I'm at home, they know they're coming to the park. If I'm here, they know, hey, we're done for the season. We're going to the house. They're ready to go, just like a big dog getting back to talk. What we don't feel that they do realize is twice a year of going one way or the other, they have no idea they're actually getting their very own boat ride.
Right. They know they're almost out.
Uphill. That's not right over no one. Get up here close to the seating table, you will see that Amos had all of his walnut trees planted in a bunch of straight rows. Each row the trees are really close together. Well, they realized early on when planting them that way, each tree would drown out the sunlight from its neighboring tree, which in turn caused them all to grow really tall and straight before they ever branched out. So from the first branch down to the ground, each and every one of those logs is a veneer log, meaning you did not see that into the board. Perfectly smooth, worth way more money. You also knew that walnut was valuable. Walnut used as a food, drying the shell up and make some medicine. Stain of the walnut used. That's where we get our black leather, our dark stain for our clothing, dark stain for woodworks and furniture, my tattooing, your hair dye, and many, many other things. So knowing that, he planted them in straight rows and wide enough rows to be able to go down each lane and harvest all of that said material. Well, that is the end of my tour. I do, for my sake and yours, hope I brought everybody back started with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for a great tour.
Like all that land.
I know. And you didn't even see, you only saw like half the island.
Just like all that land.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing. So, thank y'all for joining us on this episode of West Virginia History with Mrs. B, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to West Virginia History with Mrs. B on both Facebook and YouTube.